Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning. It feels very different without Yasmin. Valerie, you're on mute.
She's here. She's right next to me.
Oh, are you serious? Okay. Because normally Yasmin's now saying, okay, warning, you're going to go live. You're going to, she's a voice in our heads. Hi, Yasmin. Good morning, commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. And council.
Good morning.
You echo a bit.
That's Roy. We're training him here.
Well, the echo chamber, it can actually be quite powerful, so good tool. All right, I actually think that we're all assembled. We're a minute early, we can't start, but I do believe, are we waiting on specific state procurement folks? I see Michael Hillebrandt is on. It's not top of our business, but I don't know if we need
Valerie.
Did you say good morning to Valerie? Yeah.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Yeah, and Jessica is also on.
Okay, so with that, are we all good to go? Valerie and or Yasmin, are we live?
Yes, we are. We're ready to go.
Okay, thank you and welcome everybody. We'll dive right in. Agenda item 1A, call for quorum. It is 8 a.m. on Tuesday, May 11th, 2021. I call this meeting of the Independent Districting Commission to order. For the record, the Executive Assistant Valerie Newman will be taking roll. When your name is called, please indicate that if you're unable to respond verbally, we ask that you please state your name. Val.
Vice Chair Watchman.
Present.
Commissioner Lerner.
Present. Good morning.
Commissioner Meal, good morning.
Present.
Commissioner York.
Present.
Chairperson Newberg.
I am present.
And for the record, we also have in attendance Eric Spencer from Snell and Wilmer, Michael Hildebrand from ADOA, Roy Herrera from Ballard Spar, and our Executive Director, Brian Schmidt, and Debbie Wilkes is transcribing for us today. Did I miss anyone?
Dennis is right. That does.
Brent Johnson, yeah.
Brett
And
Johnson from Snell and Wilmer,
Yes.
And Danny Ariano.
and Daniel Ariano from Snell and Wilmer. Thank you.
No, Daniel's from Spark, but
Oh, Daniel's from Ballard Spar. My apologies. Back to
And this
you.
is Jessica Klein from the AG's office.
And Jessica Klein from the Attorney General's office.
And I just
Back.
noticed that Nicole Sorensen just joined us from the AG's
Good morning,
office.
everyone.
I mean, from ADOA.
good morning, Nicole.
Okay, thank you so much, Val. Please note for the minutes that a quorum is present. Agenda item 1B, call for notice. Val, was the notice and agenda for the commission meeting properly posted 48 hours in advance of today's meeting?
Yes, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you very much. We move to agenda item number 2, approval of minutes from May 4th, 2021. Thank you, Valerie, for providing written minutes for both the general session and the executive session. I do have a question for council and my colleagues. we have been using transcripts in the past, which fulfill our statutory requirements for minutes. What is it that we would like to propose to serve as our official minutes? If we do both, we have to legally ensure that both are legally sound, meaning, transcripts, the video recordings, I'm sorry if I use the wrong language, video recordings are responsible for watching from beginning to end to ensure there's no interruption. So I don't know if legal counsel wants to chime in, or my colleagues, about which minutes we want to propose.
Is the question whether the approval will be of the minutes or the video, Madam Chairwoman? Is that the
Correct.
preference? Yeah, I think our preference would be to approve the minutes now that we have them and we are able to review them. So it's the minutes that would be approved by the commission.
Okay, thank you. And the video recordings will still remain online?
That's correct.
For ease of public consumption. Okay, thank you. I hope that my colleagues have had time to review the written minutes for both the general session and the executive session. Is there any discussion?
Excuse me. I just have a question. Then what happens to the transcriptions? Are we not going to be doing those anymore? Just trying to understand what we will ultimately have: minutes, video, and transcriptions, or no transcriptions in the future?
My understanding is we will have all three, but the question is how we use them, which is part of what we're discussing. The written minutes will serve as our official minutes. The video recordings are I think, are helpful. They're easy to do, and the transcription is helpful. But what we do with them in terms of posting or not, I'm not sure we've made a determination. Brian or counsel?
It's our view that we would keep all three, but again, what will be approved by the commission will be the minutes, but we will keep the other two, documents and use them as we see fit or as necessary.
Thank you. That's all I was wondering. So I would move to approve the minutes from May 4th for the general session and executive sessions.
I second.
Any further discussion? Vice Chair Watchman.
Aye.
Commissioner Meal.
Aye.
Commissioner Lerner.
Aye.
Commissioner York.
Aye.
Commissioner Newberg is an aye, and with that, we unanimously approve the written minutes from last week, May 4th, for the general session and executive session. And again, thank you, Val, for stepping up. We really appreciate it. And welcome. We're really excited. With that, we'll move to agenda item number 3, opportunity for public comments. Public comment will open for a minimum of 30 minutes and remain open until the adjournment of the meeting. Comments will only be accepted electronically in writing on the link provided in the notice and agenda for this public meeting and will be limited to 3,000 characters. Please note, members of the commission may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01H, action taken as a result of the comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. And with that, we will move to agenda item number 4, which is discussion on public comments received prior to today's May 11th meeting. Before I turn it over to my colleagues for your thoughts, reactions, anything you want to share, there was one item that caught my attention, and I'd like to share the resolution. There were actually a couple of comments just questioning what the ultimate boundaries were with regard to our law firms that we're using in terms of their ability to be representing, political candidates or other outside interests. And so, it had elicited a thoughtful interchange between our firms. And I'd like to read to you what, has been agreed upon. It really just truly clarifies what they expressed in their interviews and their proposals, and that just to make sure we're all on the same page. To anybody listening, we can release this statement to the press, so don't feel that anybody needs to be, writing notes. But as a general sense, as promised during the vetting process and required under the applicable rules of professional conduct, IRC's legal counsel will not be advising any candidate, political party, or political committee in regard to the Arizona redistricting process. As the election law bar is small in Arizona, it's understandable that the IRC's legal counsel will continue to advise clients in regard to other unrelated election law matters, including campaign finance, petition nomination challenges, and initiative compliance issues. As there is no reason to believe that the IRC's legal counsel will not honor their ethical duties to maintain the confidentiality of IRC information, the IRC remains confident in the policies and procedures already mandated by the State Bar of Arizona, and also in compliance with the Arizona Attorney General's Office contract requirements. And with that, I just want to reiterate my experience. I have complete faith in the integrity, the competence-ness, the commitment of our attorneys to serve the commission. They've been working remarkably collegially, collaboratively. I'm most grateful, and it's truly been a bright spot. And with that, I turn it over to other comments or questions.
Well, Chair Newberg, I actually have some comments about the public comments that I'd like to make.
Please.
So we typically don't spend a lot of time talking about those other than to say thank you and bring up one or two comments. But today I do want to take a few minutes. I actually have a statement that I wrote out to be completely open here. And I want to thank everybody for their comments. We had a lot of comments from the public. Clearly, the choice of a mapping consultant was something that was of high interest to the public. And I know I appreciate that. I do want to say, though, that a concern of mine was that there was quite a partisan tone, and there was some misinformation that was included in many of the comments, and I just want to respond to a few of them about that. Many of you asked us to hire an independent redistricting company without partisan influence, and our chair had commented on that we all felt it would have been ideal had we been able to do so, but we only received 3 proposals, and all of them had partisanship as part of that. Haystack was leaning Democrat, Timmons and NDC, and Taylor English leaned Republican. The majority of the comments that I want to just discuss are those who opposed hiring Haystack, and they focused on their partisanship, not the qualifications. So I'm compelled to clarify that despite what many people said, they are not a socialist company, nor are they owned by Obama or Sanders, both of whom were simply clients of Haystack. And I want to clarify that Obama and Sanders would have had nothing to do with Arizona's mapping process, despite what many people commented on. Many people also said that Haystack was the company that was responsible for the redistricting maps in 2011, which is correct. But those who were opposed, I feel, used some inflammatory terms like political operatives, dangerous, un-American, corrupt, biased, and said the maps were a fiasco that resulted in gerrymandering, none of which is true. Despite many lawsuits that occurred by Republicans to overturn the maps, all of the maps that had been created by Haystack received Department of Justice pre-clearance on the first try and met the requirements of the Voting Rights Act. In fact, looking at the last 10 years since those maps were adopted, the Republicans maintained control of both chambers of the state legislature for the entire decade. So clearly, if this Democrat, quote, Democrat firm was as biased as many said, the Democrats would have won more seats and potentially taken control of the House, the state legislature, which did not happen. So in my opinion, the numbers were a sign that the maps that were created were fair and balanced, as they should be and as we would like them to be. So Haystack was a qualified candidate, created nonpartisan maps in 2011, despite many of the comments about them that were made. The comments, again, focused almost exclusively on them being a Democratic company, not on their qualifications. So from my perspective, and this is sort of for the future, I'm hoping, the harshness of many of the comments that were made against Haystack and negative tones directed at the commission were inappropriate. So I ask you to remember we're volunteers. We are doing our best, and the angry tone you presented does us no good, nor, in my opinion, does it help your cause. This is my opinion. Last week on a 3-2 vote, NDC was selected as our mapping consultant, and I will be working with them. I will also be paying close attention to ensure that, among other things, as required by our Constitution, minority and Native American representation are properly addressed. So I do ask that you please continue to send us your comments and provide feedback, but I would appreciate it if it's done in a respectful manner. If you're uncertain about the process, please ask us questions. We'll do our best to answer them. We want to continue to hear from the public. We want to engage with the public, but we'd like to do it in a respectful fashion. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other thoughts? Yeah, thank you to the public. We made a commitment to provide access. I'd like to remind the public we are under no legal obligation to open ourselves up to this level of public comment. And we care deeply, but we also understand, you know, the limitations. The people who are satisfied and happy are not screaming. They're pretty silent. And so as we do the process as you know, data scientists, we have to understand the source of the data and understand our full state as best as possible. And I share Commissioner Lerner's deep dedication to protecting the minority interests, every community of interest in Arizona. And with that, I hope that our public can focus on the many beautiful things that are going on with this commission. The overwhelming majority of our votes have been unanimous. We've worked collegially. We have great law firms. We're building a great staff. We have checks and balances. I know that political partisanship and tension outside of our world is really, really hot. But it is my deepest, deepest desire for us to return to our honest, respectful dialogue. Our work is just beginning. It's all ahead. And I have confidence that we're going to do right by the state. Yeah, it's been disappointing. Any other comments? Okay, with that, we'll move to item number 5, Executive Director's Report and discussion thereof. And with that, I will turn it over to Brian.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I just have a few updates for you today regarding the office move. We finalized plans and hopefully we'll get in the new space either early June or early July. Still figuring out the timeline. There's a lot of moving pieces down here. The budget, the legislature is still negotiating. So hopefully we'll have resolution in the next week or two. And then we can really start to flesh out our budget and provide those numbers. FTE positions, I'm still waiting on an increase in authority. As soon as I have that, I will post the 2 previous positions that were approved. But until that happens, we're kind of in a holding pattern. With ADOA and IT, we've been working through the requirements, the system requirements that we think we'll need, and hopeful that that will get online in the next couple of weeks. There's a little bit of a backlog or back order when it comes to computers. So we're working through that. And that is pretty much all I have for the moment. If you have any questions, please let me know.
If there are no questions, we can move on to agenda item number 6, discussion and possible action on community outreach coordinator and other potential hires and duties of all IRC staff positions. Back to you, Brian.
Thank you. So with the community outreach coordinator, I'm hopeful that you all will approve that position today. So in case I do get the increase in authority in between meetings, I can post the job position and we can start collecting resumes for that position. That is really all I have on that item.
Okay, Brian, can you repeat the position that you want approval for?
Sure, community outreach coordinator.
And that's one person.
Yes.
Okay, because I believe at one point we had discussed the possibility of needing additional hires, but you're looking for one.
Yeah, one to help coordinate all the efforts. The previous commission also hired, I believe, 4 part-time outreach folks. And so that may be a need in the future. We have to figure out what our plan is with public hearings and that kind of stuff before we are able to know if we will need any more positions.
And can you just share, if you don't mind, the duties of this community outreach coordinator? How is this person going to facilitate our work? And to be honest, how are we going to calm people's concerns about accessing the needs and the views of our minority populations? Can you share a little bit about what we're looking for?
Absolutely. I think over the next 6 months, it's going to be important that the commission reach out to as many different groups, communities of interest as possible. It's going to be a job that everyone on the staff has, but having someone that can help coordinate or reach different groups would be a helpful add-on to the commission.
Okay, so my understanding of the value and the urgency of this position is that these are the people who are literally on the ground learning each community's gripes and preferences and helping gather that data, where it's not just data coming to us like through social media where it's valuable, but it's pre-selected, it's biased. It's us being able to also go out into the community and understand it as objectively as possible. That's my understanding.
Absolutely, and also help individuals and communities.
Okay, I think you got cut off, but I thank you, Brian. I think it's an important position, and I'm ready to entertain a motion. But let's have discussion.
This is Commissioner York. I've reviewed the job description. I think it's very thorough and complete, and I would recommend moving forward.
And Vice Chair seconds that motion. That's a motion, Doug.
Any further discussion? Okay, we'll do a vote. Vice Chair Watchman.
Aye.
Commissioner Meal.
Aye.
Commissioner Lerner.
Aye.
Commissioner York.
Aye.
Commissioner Newberg is an aye, and with that, we have approved a community outreach coordinator position.
Thank you, Commission.
Anything else, Brian, on agenda item number 6?
No, that is all I have for you at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much. With that, we'll move to number 7, discussion and possible action on legal counsel briefing. We have some important updates, guidance, and training from our attorneys today, focusing on conflicts of interest and ethics, which just ironically has to do with what public comments were about the law firms. Now we have to, subject ourselves to that same level of scrutiny. Use of subcommittees and compliance with open meeting law. The demographer presentation opportunities and utilization of non-census government data, and public records compliant initial guidance. I'm going to suggest that we go into executive session, which will not be open to the public for the purpose of obtaining legal advice to further implement and or advance these legal issues pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A3. Before we take that vote with our counsel, if there's anything you want to share in the public.
Yeah, Chairwoman, if we may, Mike, could we possibly table that and go to item 8? Because I appreciate the ADOA and the Attorney General's office are on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
We have their time right now, and if we could get them out of the way, that'd be great.
Okay, you got it. We are going to use our discretion and respect the time of our SPO counsel to go to agenda item number 8, discussion and possible action on options for mapping consultant. A, update regarding notice of award and posting of procurement file. I'm going to recommend that the commission vote to go into executive session, which will not be open to the public for the purpose of obtaining legal advice, ARS 38-431.03A3, as well as for the purpose of discussion or consideration of records exempt by law from public intent, including the receipt and discussion of information or testimony that is specifically required to be maintained as confidential by state or federal law, ARS 38-431.03A2, pursuant to ARS 41.2534D. The content of proposals submitted under the state's request for proposal procurement process is confidential until contract award, so as to avoid the disclosure of contents prejudicial to competing offers during the process of negotiations. With that, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session, and we will give a full briefing to the public when we return about the status of this confidential process. Do I have a motion to go into executive session to continue the conversation on the procurement process with mapping?
Vice Chair Watchman so moves.
Okay,
Do I have a second?
second.
Any further discussion? Vice Chair Watchman,
Aye.
Commissioner Meal,
Aye.
Commissioner Lerner, Commissioner York,
Aye.
Commissioner Newberg is an aye. We will meet in executive session. We do not anticipate it taking a significant amount of time, maybe 15 minutes. No guarantees. Please make sure we X out of this link and rejoin in the separate one. And thank you. Okay, do we have our team? Jessica, I believe that's Michael. If somebody else could also maybe just take the tiles and ensure we have our entire team and we can resume our public session.
Madam Chair, this is Jessica. That is me.
Okay, thank you. Bye. Okay, with that, I think we will resume our public session. We are on agenda item number 8. Thank you for everybody's patience while we were in executive session. We had the opportunity to get an update on where we are with the procurement officers as it relates to awarding the contract to the mapping consultant. When we were in executive session, we procurement documentation and contract determination. Act as the contract evaluators, commissioners will sign the determination. The state procurement officer will submit the written determination file that will be posted within 3 days. And with that, I would also like to just give a deep sense of gratitude to our, MVPs with Jessica Klein, Michael Hillebrand, Nicole Sorensen. Not an easy process. Your professionalism way, your competence, the diligence, and so we're excited to be at this stage and good about the process. So thank you so much for your participation in the work. If there are no other further conversations, agenda item, we are going to go back to number 7, which we skipped over. which is discussion and possible action on legal briefing with training on conflicts of interest and ethics, use of compliance with demographer presentation opportunities and utilization of census government data and public records initial guidance. Some of this will be done in executive session. Prior to entertaining motion to into executive session, which will not be open to the public for the purpose of obtaining legal advice to further implement and or advance these legal issues, pursuant our 38-431.03A3. Is there anything legal counsel would share public?
At this point, Madam Chairwoman.
Okay. We will turn and give you a brief. With that, I will entertain a motion to move into executive session.
This is Commissioner York. I so move to move into executive session, and I'd also like to thank the SO officers.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Vice Chair Watson seconds.
Any further discussion? Vice Chair Watchman,
Aye.
Commissioner Meal,
Aye.
Commissioner Lerner,
Aye.
Commissioner York.
Aye.
Commissioner Berg is an aye, and with that, we will move into executive session, and we will be joined by our legal counsel, Brett Roy, our transcriptionists, Valerie Newman, Brian Schmidt, and if there is anybody, Eric Spencer, and if there is anybody in addition, we will make sure to include those people in our minutes. We will see you in executive session. Okay, do we have our team reconvened? I see, I believe all of our commissioners and Brian and our attorneys. Valerie is on the phone, so we'll wait till she's available.
I'm ready to go. Thank you.
Okay, do we have our whole team ready? With that, we are pleased to join back with public session. Thank you for your patience. We had the benefit of getting a full debrief from our council on training with conflicts of interest and ethics, the use of subcommittees. I'd say of particular note, as a result of the conversation in executive session, we have determined that we're interested in bringing in a state demographer to present to us opportunities to learn from non-census government data, and to also further look into what the Census Bureau may be able to share with us. And we also further need to explore item D, public records compliance, and that will be tabled for another day. But in the interim, we will be moving forward with inviting a state demographer and somebody from the Census Bureau to brief us, not in lieu of census data, but as perspective and context. And with that, if there is no other further conversation, We will move to agenda item number 9, which is discussion and possible action on legal RFP. Item A, closeout. So we have our 2 firms that we have secured through their contracts with the state. The legal RFPs are no longer active, or well, they're active, they're not necessary. And I will entertain a motion to close those RFPs given that they're no longer relevant.
This is Commissioner Lerner, so move.
Commissioner Meal seconds.
Any further conversation? Okay, Vice Chair Watchman,
Aye.
Commissioner Meal,
Aye.
Commissioner Lerner,
Aye.
Commissioner York.
Aye.
Commissioner Newberg is an aye, and with that, we will formally close the legal RFP process. And with that, we will move to agenda item number 10, which is discussion and possible action on census data and delay and ways to mitigate its disruption. There are 2 items: update concerning identification of consultant to analyze the impact on Arizona. B, potential invitation to Census Bureau to provide presentation. That is something we previously included in our decision. The commission may vote to go into executive session, which will not be open to the public, for the purpose of obtaining legal advice with respect to census data and delays, ARS 38-431.03A-3. Council, is there anything that you'd like to share with the public before we entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss these issues?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I could just report that legal counsel has been interviewing and talking to potential consultants in this area related to the census delay and the differential privacy issue that we discussed last week. We are still making a determination on who would be appropriate to potentially have the consider as a consultant. But that's where we're at right now. We're still talking to several folks about this. As far as executive session, unless the commission wants any particular legal advice related to those discussions, I think that executive session is necessarily needed at this point.
Thank you. Are there any questions, thoughts, comments on that update? Okay, thank you very much. With that, we'll move on to agenda item number 11, discussion of future agenda item requests. Is there anything that we have not touched upon today that we anticipate being of value to add to our agenda next week? And of course, you have a few days to submit those suggestions, but while we're all convened today. Okay, with that, we'll move to agenda item number 12, discussion and possible action on the scheduling of future meetings. We are on tap to meet again next Tuesday, the 18th, again from 8 a.m. to noon, with no other deviations expected in the ensuing weeks until otherwise notified. Okay, with that, we'll move to agenda item number 13, announcements. Next meeting date will be May 18th at 8 a.m. With that, we move to agenda item number 14, closing of public comments. Please note, members of the commission may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01H, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. And with that, we move to agenda item number 15, which is adjournment. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Vice Chair Watchman, so moves to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Commissioner York, seconds.
Any discussion? Vice Chair Watchman,
Aye.
Commissioner Meal,
Aye.
Commissioner Lerner,
Aye.
Commissioner York.
Aye.
Commissioner Newberg is an aye, and with that, we will adjourn, and I look forward to seeing all of these. I am. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.